Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of Techspert Talks. I'm Troy Rainey, and I'll be your host for today's session. Today's Techspert Talk session is Qlik Cloud Admin 201 with our own Umberto De Domenico. Umberto, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I'm an adoption specialist. I've been in Qlik for about 8 years, and I work in Barcelona helping customers to migrate into Qlik Cloud.
Great. All right, well, today we're going to be looking at capacity model and trying to troubleshoot license allocation, exploring the capacity consumption app, and looking at how you can leverage Qlik APIs to help in user management. Now, Umberto, to get things started, suppose we have a tenant and it's recently switched from a user-based license model to the capacity-based one, and too many users are getting the full user license. How can an admin work to troubleshoot that?
Okay, let's start the fundamental difference between user-based and capacity-based subscriptions. This is user-based model.
Okay.
So the entitlements are analyzed in professionals user 25, use 6, and the analyzer ones, which are 25, use 7.
All right.
Each user has an assigned license, and usage is tied to individuals.
So let's compare that to a capacity model.
In capacity-based subscription, we have full users and basic users. Instead of licensing individuals, the usage is measured against the overall capacity the organization has purchased.
Yeah, so pretty much it's measuring how much data is being used by the tenant instead of how many
Exactly.
users. And one of the big advantages of capacity is that basically all your users that are analyzing the data, you could have as many as you want. It's unlimited.
That's the great benefit of the capacity-based subscriptions.
But to have developers and admins who have more rights, that's the role full user. Is that right?
Yeah, the full user is basically identical to the professional user or similar.
Yeah, they have a lot of rights for creating things, right?
Exactly. The basic user entitlement is actually a free user in the capacity tenant.
So, Umberto, in practical terms, for the basic users, is there anything that they can't do?
Basic users have only access to managed spaces
Oh, okay.
and they have a limited amount of operations they can do. View sheets and apps, create personal notes and private bookmarks. And they may also have permission to download.
Okay. How does a user get their allocation of a basic user entitlement? Is it based on the permissions to that managed space?
Yes, when they log in, depending again on the type of permissions provided in the spaces and in the security roles, these are security roles, they'll get full user or basic user entitlement.
What access rights on a managed space should a user have to be a basic user?
If I give Diego Siciliani restricted view,
That's that basic user.
yes, this guy is going to be a basic user.
Okay.
Any other permission will give full user automatically.
Okay. And I noticed the default was can view. So if people are using up those full user allocations, how can the admin start to troubleshoot that and roll things back?
Right. Manually, a tenant admin goes through each single user and removes all security roles. For instance, in here, change the entitlement to basic user.
Okay.
And then I have to go to the roles and remove all possible roles the user has been assigned.
And you would need to also go into the spaces and make sure that any spaces they have entitlements,
Right.
or what would be an easier way to accomplish this?
I'd like to show how you can do it with an automation inside Qlik Cloud.
Oh, great. Okay, so we're looking at Qlik Automate, our list of blocks and tools on the left, our canvas in the middle, and our configuration details on the right. Can you walk us through the blocks here and what this does?
Yes. The idea of the automation is to grab the users from an external file.
Is that the inputs block that is going to pull that?
The inputs block asks the tenant admin the name of the worksheet inside an Excel named user list.
Can we take a look at that?
Yes,
What columns here are important?
B column, the user is listed, and also G column. The flag is set to delete.
Okay, and we're not actually deleting the users, we're just removing their full user entitlement. Is that right?
Yes, deleting the permission in the related space.
Okay, so it's taking a look at spaces, finding those users that have a full user allocation, and changing it from full user to basic user.
Yes, and
Hmm.
the start cell and the end cell of the worksheet.
Okay.
Then we're gonna confirm by using this condition 3.
So that actually creates a prompt for the admin to confirm if they want to continue.
Yes. Then gather the information from the Excel file and start looking at the spaces. For each space, list member from space provides the user ID, then the get user block. For detailed information like name and email address,
Okay, so we're at the get user, and now we have another condition asking us to confirm.
yes, now we have a condition to check if the user in the Excel file matches the user in the space.
Okay, to make sure the Excel file and the actual space match. That's good.
If that matches, then we can proceed with checking if the users has security roles assigned.
Okay,
And then the automation can proceed.
that makes sense. This automation is built to focus on entitlements and if people have security roles to try and skip those users, right?
Exactly. If the user does not have any security role, then we can proceed with the core parts of the automation.
Okay, so that will remove their full user entitlement.
Yes, but also this is done by using this endpoint.
Right, that was that API call you mentioned. That's relatively new, right?
Yes,
Where can people find more information about endpoints like this?
the API library Qlik.dev. The license endpoints are this one,
All right, so that
this one.
removes entitlements.
Yes. If you're not very familiar with how the API endpoints work, you can also explore this by using the dev tool in Chrome. Back to the tenant,
Okay.
let's enable the developer tool, Control-Shift-I, and let's say that we want to remove the entitlement for Adelevance.
Okay.
Click on three dots and go to Change Entitlement. If I select Basic User,
Can we clean up the network traffic so it's easier to see the calls?
yes, as soon as I click on Save, I'm going to get an action update
Okay.
and a license assignment.
Okay, because you're updating the entitlement from full user to basic user.
Exactly.
Is that the same command that the automation is using?
In the automation, we're using delete, remove without assigning.
Oh, there it is. Same
In this
thing.
case, we have the action delete.
Okay, before we actually run the automation, can we review the users that are going to be affected?
Yes. Now we have Pradeep with full user, but he has roles.
Okay.
And then we have Diego Siciliani, full user with no roles, and Adelevance, full user, no roles. He'll be able to process Adelevance and Diego Siciliani, but he will not be able to process Pradeep Gupta because he has security roles.
Okay. So to leave the people with security roles alone and only reset people who don't have security roles but do have full user entitlement.
Correct.
Great. Should we just go to the top and run?
Run,
All right. Here's where it's asking for some input.
worksheet, yeah. The start cell, A1, Excel, and cell G5. These are the list of users.
Right. So this is the list of the 4 users the automation is working on. Nice.
And then confirm yes. If I click on submit, now it's going to start processing.
All right. I found the first user on the list with space 1.
Adelevance does not have any assigned security roles. We can confirm and we can proceed. Confirms here that the deletion was completed.
Okay.
Now he's looking for the membership of space 3 and the membership Pradeep Gupta also for space 1. The output can be improved. This
Sure.
automation is a proof of concept. I would recommend you review it. So don't take it and put it on production without testing carefully.
It's a good point that this is a proof of concept and showing how you can use this to better administrate your own tenant. It should be customized to fit your needs.
Yes.
Okay, back to the automation. It's looking at Space One and Pradeep Gupta.
Pradeep Gupta has 3 security roles, so it will not proceed for this user.
Okay. The automation is just sort of moving through the list now.
And now he's going through membership for Space 3. Diego Siciliani. Diego Siciliani, it belongs to Space 3. It's an assignment, but the guy does not have any security role. And we say, yes, let's do it. So we have now done this removal for Adelevance.
It skipped Pradeep Gupta because of the security roles.
Exactly. And then for Diego Siciliani, completed the removal of the entitlement.
Awesome. And now it's just moved on from Diego onto the next user in the list, Nestor Wilk.
Yes, but Nestor Wilk was not part of any of the spaces.
Very cool.
Adelevance no longer has entitlement. Pradeep Gupta still has it, and Diego Siciliani no longer has entitlement.
Well, this automation can certainly help clean up all the unnecessary full user entitlements, since there could be several after changing from user-based to capacity-based licensing. So once this removes them, could Qlik Automate help assign the correct space permissions for basic users?
Yes, that could be a good idea. To add members, go here, add Qlik Cloud Services, add members to space.
Okay, so admins could create a similar automation that will read a list and, based on that list, add members using that block.
Correct. One more thing I would like to say about the automation is that now we have the opportunity to share this automation. I can move it to a share space.
Yes, that's a new capability. Very cool.
And that will allow other tenant admins to launch the automation at will.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Talking about moving to capacity, in the previous session, we've demonstrated how users can generate a detailed consumption report. Can we talk about how it's actually measuring the data that's being used?
Yeah, let's do that. The basic concept is that capacity is the sum of 2 parts, data files and applications. We need to understand that capacity is counted against the size of data files and application size.
Okay. So it's all about the size of the data.
Exactly. Data integration is another story. It's out of the scope of this tech talk.
Can you walk us through exactly how the capacity is measured on a tenant?
Yeah. We have first day of the month, an app inside Qlik Cloud. Second day, a second app is created. The first app is not refreshed, but is still counted.
Okay.
So the amount of capacity usage right now is the sum of the size of these 2 apps.
Okay.
Third day, a third app, but also one file is being uploaded. So the capacity used is the sum of the 3 apps plus the size of the data file.
Okay.
Fourth day, app 2 gets reduced in terms of size. App 3 and app 1 remain the same, and file 1 still there. On day 5, we also have a second file uploaded.
Okay.
Apps 1 and apps 2 reloaded, but no more data added. At the end of the month, things remain unchanged.
So what is the peak capacity for the month?
Is day 3.
The high watermark, is that what defines the level of capacity being used?
Exactly.
Okay, the high watermark. And reloads doesn't really matter. It's whatever that high watermark is.
Exactly. It does not count. As long as the data size remains the same, it does not
Great.
count if you reload the app 300 times.
Thank you for clarifying that. Where can we find that high watermark in the consumption report?
Yes, let's have a look at it. The data for analysis sheet.
Okay.
So in here, we have some bar charts giving us the peak daily usage. Instead of looking at September, let's go in August. And the peak day is precisely 27th of August.
All right. So it highlights that with a line and even like labels it peak day.
Right.
Nice.
When you click on peak day, you can also narrow down what caused that peak daily usage. In here, I can see details per day. I can see which apps or scripts or data flows have been treated during that specific day and how much data volume was used.
Should we sort by data volume?
Yeah, click on this one. Keep in mind this is gigabytes.
Well, this is cool. So it basically identifies for you where the data volume is coming from, which apps and which activities.
Yeah,
Great. The only drawback I see is having to manually go into the settings, hit that distribution button to get a new one. Is there a way to automate the creation of these reports?
currently this is not available, but it can be done by API calls.
So there is an API call to trigger the distribution of a consumption report?
Correct. It's pretty new, so I'd like to show that to you guys.
Sure. Okay, so this is a relatively new API call.
Yes, it's pretty new to the point that we still don't have the corresponding CLI method.
Okay.
It's going to come, but for now, you'll have to run this as an endpoint.
How do you want to run this API? How are we going to do it today?
We're going to show using a Python script.
Okay, so we're back in the administration settings with the distribute to consumption report button. And you brought up the DevTools window to let us see what that call actually looks like.
Yeah, click on the distribute.
Okay, so that's doing the fetch consumption app. I see that call.
Yes,
What else
the
is
fetch
going on here?
consumption is the one we just seen in the Qlik.dev, a brand new API call available. But after that, Qlik is going to import the consumption app into a temporary area inside Qlik Cloud using the following API endpoint. And finally, Qlik will import the consumption app into the personal space of the user who has launched the distribute.
Right. So just so I'm clear, that fetch API call, it fetches the consumption app, it puts it into a temporary location, and then imports it from that temporary location into the personal space of the user who triggered it all.
Correct.
All right. And you've laid that out into a Python script that we're going to run.
Yes.
Can you walk us through the different parts of this? I see we've got the tenant URL and the API
Yes.
call. What else do we have?
We also need the token to be authenticated.
What token is that?
This token is created by using an API key, and you can generate a new one. By the way, we used to have a security role. It was called developer role.
Right.
If you go to manage users, suppose you want to give at relevance the developer role, this role is deprecated.
Going forward, how do you allocate the ability to create API keys to a user?
Now we're going to use a custom role. Go to permission here and then create new, call it API developer. Select permission you want to give. In this case is manage API keys. Currently, by default, is not allowed, but you can say allowed. Confirm.
Okay, so now just assign that custom security role to any admin that needs to create an API key.
Exactly.
Okay, so back to the Python script. An API developer has hit that button to generate new code, and we've got that token there because of that. What's next?
Now here you see some stuff which is commented out. Again, this is a proof of concept script.
Right, we can provide this example, but it's certainly not the one that people should download and run. It needs to be updated and customized to fit your needs.
Exactly. So in the first section, post of the fetch-consumption API endpoint. The second phase, we were able to see in the dev tool to move the consumption app into a temporary contents area.
Right, that was that second piece. Okay.
Last part is to gather where the file location is, because we need to import into the personal space of the user who launched the deployment. This is done by using the location string.
Is that another API call?
No, I wanted to show in the second phase, we have a response from the header, the location where the file is located. So these also include some strings which needs to be removed from the final location ID. And this is why we are trimming the first part of the string, okay? This is the final URL of the import API call.
Okay, so are we ready to fire it off?
Yeah. We can execute the Python script by using the button to run it, and that will connect to our Qlik Cloud, extract the app, put in the temporary space, and finally import it back.
Very cool. So it just created a brand new detailed consumption report. Very
Yeah,
cool. And like as a proof of concept, like you said, you could use this script and it basically
anything. Yeah,
allows you to trigger that consumption report without having to go into the settings and hit that button.
correct.
Now it's time for Q&A. Please submit your questions to the Q&A tool on the left-hand side of your On24 console. We've got some questions already in there, so I'll just read them one at a time. First question: how to proactively monitor capacity guardrails? Thinking we had a recent couple of sessions with Adam Jacobs about migrating from on-prem to cloud, and there is an offer out there if you reach out to your Qlik account manager that they can provide a lot of tools, of course, to help you migrate. But one of the offers they have is what they call a snap-in license. So that they will basically give you an unlimited capacity license for a set period of time. And after you've migrated on there and you're running everything on capacity with an unlimited amount of capacity, that you can see what your threshold might be, how much capacity you actually require, and then they will establish the pricing based on that. So if you're in the process of considering shifting capacity license, reach out to your account manager and they can help you. Be happy to put that
That would
link
be
there.
great. That's for the migration for on-prems, which does make sense. The answer provided. As far as when you're already on a capacity tenant and as an admin, you want to monitor your capacity consumption, then the distribution app is the tool that you have to use.
Right.
And also, an admin should also check the app analyzer because it does help figuring out the usage trend.
Yeah, so the app analyzer will help you actually see what apps are being used more, what users are using them, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And we also have a very useful endpoint, which gives you the metadata for the reloads done for a specific app.
Okay, thanks. All right, next question. We're using hybrid Qlik setup. For development, we use QlikSense Enterprise and then push it to cloud in a managed space. But I'm not able to automate the Qlik apps published by the hybrid setup. Is there a way to do this? And just recently had the Q&A with Qlik about migrating from on-prem to Qlik Cloud, and we had lots of questions around hybrid. And I'm going to put a link to where Adam Jacobs gave a pretty thorough answer to that. But basically what he was suggesting is that you really need to consider moving to cloud entirely. He was not a fan of the hybrid, but I'm sure there's lots of reasons to do things the way you're doing it. But if you want to make things more automatic, more easy, and when you're pushing from on-prem to the cloud, you're not able to retain that private content like bookmarks and sheets that users are keeping. So if you want to have that private content, it might be easier for you just to have it all on the cloud. But I'll provide the link. Adam does a much better explanation than I do.
Yeah, just to add a few comments. The hybrid solution is a great solution when you want to extend
Mm-hmm.
the functionality of ClickSense on-prems. Virtually what you do is to add more streams on a cloud environment, but that's it. You don't have much control on those streams. But if you really want to get the benefit of using our cloud, you really need to be fully on cloud. In other words, develop on cloud as well
Mm-hmm.
and publish from cloud into cloud managed spaces.
Yeah. And you can do that, one app at a time. Like it's good you're already using cloud through a hybrid setup, and maybe you could try moving one app over so that you're developing that single app and pushing to a managed space. And then it doesn't have to be all at once if you don't want to. You can
Exactly.
migrate
One
at
by
your own
one. Yeah.
pace.
Yeah. It's an interim solution. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Is there a way to estimate the peak RAM?
I guess we are talking about peak reload RAM size.
Yeah,
Mm, and
that makes sense.
because when we reload, we actually expand the app into RAM to perform the data model manipulation. It's not such a method. because it strongly depends on the data model deployed in the app. But this has always been like that, even on-prems. There's no way to establish how much RAM during the
Before you
reload
actually do it.
the app, we will need. I've seen 800 megabytes app getting up to 50 gigabytes.
I've heard what's the kind of rule of thumb? Do they sort of guess like 4 times the on-disk space? Have you heard that? Or am I just making that up?
In Qlik Cloud, we have established the reload size limit. The peak reload size is 34 gigabytes broadly.
Okay.
So regardless of the size of the app. However, if large apps are used, then, as you said, we have a different calculation. We provided up to approximately 3 app size, so maximum 240 gigabytes.
Okay. And again, if you feel that you have a large app and you're running into any threshold limits, just reach out to your account manager because there's always things that we can do to make things work, whether it's optimizing that app so it takes less RAM or getting you an extended license to allow for those larger apps. There's different
Yes.
options available. All right, next question. Are there any plans to improve visibility of private content owned by users, similar to what ClickSense on-prem has?
Uh,
Okay, I was thinking about feature requests, and I just did a search on Qlik Ideation on Qlik Community. You, as a Qlik customer or partner, can recommend feature requests and search for others that have been already suggested and vote on them. And I see one there, number 280013, that's allow admins to see overviews and owners for app objects, including sheets, bookmarks, notes, etc. So there is an idea, a feature request already out there to make it a part of the product, and it already has 98 votes. So I encourage you to go in there and vote on that if you'd like to see that added to the product.
That's a very good answer because very often not give the right importance to the ideation page, but in Qlik we highly consider the ideation proposals coming from customers and partners. It's always
Yeah.
been like that traditionally, and program managers are constantly keeping an eye on it. Please go there and vote the Troy just mentioned. Besides that, we also have an API endpoint which allows you to do this by using API calls. You can create basically apps in cloud which give an overview of which private sheets are owned by who.
Okay. So there is an API call out there already, so you could get that information yourself. That's great.
Yes,
I'll provide that link. Next question. Are there any plans to allow multiple IdPs?
no, there are no plans to have multiple IDPs allowed in Qlik
At,
Cloud
at the same time, yeah.
at the same time, correct?
But if that's something that you need, it's possible to have multiple tenants with using different IdPs. Perhaps that's a
Mm.
solution that might work for you.
Yes, that may be a solution. Good point. After all, if you're using multiple IDPs, it means you're referring to multiple organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Every organization may have its own tenant. Multi-tenant approach could be the right way to go.
All right, next question. We are currently looking into scheduling with dependent runs, like we used to know from the QMC and ClickView. Is it possible to mark preliminary conditions for scheduling? Okay, so I think we're talking about triggering things with some preliminary conditions, I guess.
Yeah, it's not very clear to me, but in Qlik Cloud, the automations are the way to implement a logic in the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that is an option using automate.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Next question. How to do automated writes AD group based permissions?
I mean, if you understand correctly, it wants to take advantage of the groups available in your
Yeah.
IDP and configure your space membership or security roles based on groups. And this is something that we do have currently available as long as you have an IDP in Qlik Cloud, as we showed in the first tech talk about tenant admin.
So if you just assign a group rights to a space, then
Right,
that would apply to everybody in that group in Active
exactly.
Directory. And I'll provide a link to the portion of the previous recording where you demonstrated how to do that. All right, next question. Do you recommend using APIs regularly to manage a tenant? What are the advantages over using the administration console? That's a big question.
Yeah, basically, API is a fundamental tool to enhance your administration everyday work,
hmm
but you don't need to use API regularly if the GUI allows you to do what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
However, if you want to automate further your operations on a daily basis, you may want to use API endpoints and create some admin management programmatically.
Yeah. It's like any computer tool. There's always 3 or 4 different ways to do the same thing, but you just get to pick which one works best for you. Next question. Is there a way to see the metadata for bookmarks, as in owners created, last used, etc.?
I'm pretty sure we have some API endpoints in Qlik.dev. Please look into that. There are some endpoints for the bookmarks, and you should be able to,
To see that information?
yeah, to get information from there. Yeah.
Great. And last question we have time for today. Are there any courses to take for the ClickSense Administrator certification?
Currently, we have the Qlik Sense for Windows Administrator certification, but we are in the process of coming out with a Qlik Tenant Admin certification. It's not available yet, but it will be available soon.
Okay, great. And I can provide a link to some more information about Click certifications. But if you have any other questions regarding certifications, you can always reach out to our Click certification team at certification@qlik.com. But I'll post that information with the recording of this. Umberto, thank you so much for today and all the stuff you've gone through. I think this will be a really valuable asset for people going forward.
Thank you all for participating to this TED Talk. I hope you enjoyed and you got some useful information for your daily work as a tenant admin. Keep in mind that I'm an adoption specialist, so if you need any help, any clarification from the adoption side, please reach out to me and I'll be very happy to discuss whatever topic you have.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this session. And special thanks to Umberto again. We always appreciate getting experts like Umberto to share with us. Here's our legal disclaimer. And thank you once again. Have a great rest of your day.